Okay, now let's talk about the largest group, the largest order out there, the Coleoptera, the beetles.
Here are true facts about the dung beetle. The dung beetle survives mainly or solely by eating the faces of other animals. It's terrifying. Wait, that's a typo. It eats the feces of other animals. Well, that's even worse. The rolling dung beetle finds dung with its acute sense of smell. The dung beetle then selects a choice piece to roll into a bowl. Oh, that's disgusting. Cut it. Cut the clip. I told you I'm not going to narrate the footage of poop. It's just not going to happen. This isn't better. This has nothing to do with the dung beetle. Fine. The female dung beetles then judge their potential mates by the size of their balls. Oh, come on, that's a lynx. Wait, why is he stalking that Santa baby? Run away, Santa baby. After a mating pair is established, the female often attaches herself to the dung ball chariot, and the male rolls them away from the dung pile. He does this backwards by pushing on the ball with his hind legs. Imagine getting into a car and putting your head face down on the seat, and then steering with your butt. That is how the dung beetle do. Needless to say, they get lost from time to time. When it strays off course, the dung beetle climbs on top of its ball and uses the position of the sun, the moon, and even the Milky Way to reorient itself. Sort of like how ancient sailors once did, except without the giant ball of shit. Here, a scientist uses a mirror to confuse the hell out of a dung beetle. Along the way, he must face challengers who seek to claim his turd ball, the ensuing battle sometimes lasting for hours. When they have finally completed their journey, the young freaky couple digs a small hole in the soft sand. The female then lays her eggs inside the dung ball and then seals them up, using more dung, her saliva, and her own feces, just for good measure. And then when the baby is born, it eats its way out. The circle of life. Just remember, no matter how bad your job is, even if you shovel crap for a living, at least you're not doing it naked and with your mouth, and then eating it.
Those videos make me laugh so hard. Okay, so the Coleoptera. The name Coleoptera comes from the word coleos, which means sheath, while ptera means wings. So they have these modified forewings called the elytra. So that's what you're looking at here. So this is what's indicative of a beetle. When you think about a beetle, you think about these smooth backs, right? So those are the elytra. Their forewings are super, super sclerotized. Oftentimes they will have really pretty colorations or something like that on them. And these forewings will cover up the membranous hind wings. So Coleoptera are actually able to fly. It's just they have to lift up these forewings in order to move, in order to fly away. So remember I talked about the Hemiptera and how they have the same sort of coloration and they oftentimes can look a lot like Coleoptera. Coleoptera you can tell pretty easily because they will have this line down the middle or a suture down the middle of their back that indicates that they are Coleoptera. So anytime you see this little line down the back, you know it's Coleoptera. If you don't see that line, then it's probably Hemiptera, just mimicking a beetle. So these are the beetles and the weevils. This is the largest order in the class Insecta. They have over 300,000 species worldwide. In fact, most animals that we have recognized are beetles. Just that's the way that they are. There's a famous saying, a scientist back in the day was asked, "Do you believe in God?" And instead of responding, he responded like a smartass. He said, if there is a God, he has an inordinate fondness for beetles because of just the sheer number of beetles that are out there. So this group includes 40% of all known insects and 30% of all known animal species. That is just ridiculous. So the reason that they are so diverse, the reason that they have so much speciation happening is that they have been able to adapt and take over many, many niches on Earth. And one of the reasons we think this has happened is because of their ability to evolve these elytra. And if you think about it, the reason that insects have wings is they allow them to move or to fly into new places, right? So they can get places really, really far. However, in some of these species that we've looked at, those wings are a liability. Think about an insect that is living underneath the ground, right? Big wings are going to rip off. Back to, like the Embedina. Remember, those females don't even have wings because they're living underground. They're a liability now. Okay, fleas, so parasites, they can't have wings because they're a liability. So Coleoptera evolved a way to get around that. These elytra, the sheath covers those hind wings. So these beetles can get underneath things, into things. They can get to things where wings would have been a liability and yet still have wings. So they're able to move really far and exploit niches where wings are a problem. So they've just exploded in diversity out there. So they've adapted to all these different niches. And they do everything. They feed on plants. They are scavengers. They've got decomposers. We've got predators. And their size range is ridiculous. The smallest beetle is 0.25 millimeters long, just minute, while the largest beetle is up to 10 centimeters. They are just ridiculous. Now, there are two beetle families that can actually produce light. The fireflies and the glowworms. They have light-producing organs in their abdomens. So this is what a firefly looks like. She is. Okay, so these fireflies have these light-producing abdomens. Here, so you can see it's got that prothoracic region, their mesothoracic wings are in the elytra. What's interesting about these beetles, though, is in their abdomen, they've got these organs, and they have this really complex chemical reaction that happens in their abdomen. If you get into higher level stuff, you'll have to get into this. We actually exploit this thing, this reaction for science and stuff. But you see that open, that white area there? There's a chemical reaction happening in there. It is an enzyme and protein reaction. So you've got the protein luciferin. Luciferin's, named for Lucifer because of hell, I guess. Okay, and then luciferase, the enzyme that breaks down luciferin. When those two get together, that has an exothermic reaction and it produces light. And so the firefly is able to produce this light when it wants to mate. Now, notice it's called a firefly, right? This isn't a true fly. This is a beetle. So all these shiny, shiny, flashy beetle things or flies that you see out there are actually beetles. Now, this was a very, very brief introduction to beetles. I mean, it's impossible to really give you too much more information without going on for the rest of my life. Now, I didn't even tell you interesting stories about beetles other than the fireflies because there are some very forensically important beetles. So later on in the semester, in the next few weeks, I'm going to get into Coleoptera a little more in depth, and I'm going to tell you about those families and those species that are forensically important. So that's just the basics of beetles now. Let me know if you have any questions.
Hello there.
Hi.
I leant forward and presented my hands.
Oh, God.
Could I put these gloves on and keep my cool in front of the tribe?
Have mercy.
Obviously not. Jeez, with a couple of deep breaths, though, I felt like I'd be back to normal in no time.
Can I get you a Panadol? A Nurofen Plus?
What do I do? What do I do?
You have to dance to release the pain, Amish.
Okay, can we dance then?
Jeez, I was going to be surprised if this helped.
Seems like a very strange directive from the doctor, isn't it? Just dance.
And evidently, it didn't,
Hang in there, buddy. Hang in there.
because Hames soon commenced what we now know as the 6 stages of sting pain.
Shrieking.
Refusal to dance.
You have to dance.
I don't want to dance. This is the last time I've ever felt like dancing.
Screaming / and or swearing.
Sweating.
Some shaking.
Biting stick requests. Problem was, this went on for an hour, relentlessly.
Cold water?
Yeah,
How's that?
I need ice.
Yeah, I'll get you ice. I'll get you ice.
Toxin from the ants generates the worst pain a human is capable of experiencing. There was nothing I could do to help him, so I essentially stood by in shock at the reaction.
It's just not stopping.
We later found out that not only do these ants sting multiple times a second, but they release a pheromone telling any nearby ants to also sting.
Oh, dear.
Haim had been stung 100 times over.
Wanna lie down?
By the 2-hour mark, Hamish had collapsed with exhaustion, but it was clear the pain hadn't receded at all. And the doctor offered up a suggestion.
Let's go to the hospital.
Oh, a bit of a worrywart there, Doc, if you ask me.
Obrigado.
No, seriously, thank you, though.
We made the hour-long trip back to the closest hospital where luckily the emergency doctors were able to treat Haim and I was able to find a seat.
Hola. Good one not to get. Thank you, Chief.
8 hours after the stinging, I was finally able to talk to my friend again.
How you feeling?
I think I prefer being stung by this big white wasp.
Morphine?
Yeah, he's a good wasp. That was unbelievable.
You look a lot like a man now, though, just so you know.
I grew an extra testicle.
The good news is, even though they felt like they'd been busted up by hammers, at midnight, I was able to get out of hospital and take my hands to Macca's.
All right, so I just went on forever about Hymenoptera there. Let me know if you have any questions.